Yeah. Okay everyone, so finally the 4 pieces of the 2 sets of guards are now completed. So my next step now is removing all these welds seen here. So basically what I'm going to do is run the grinder over the top of the welds using a proper disc, a backing pad, a rubber backing pad and sanding pad to keep the nice and flat. I don't want to be working on the welds too much. I want to keep the welds with a nice round bevel. So a nice round sort of face. That makes sense. So grinder first, and then we're moving straight on to the actual dual action sander. So just to point out, these ones are only in view just to show that they're completed. So I'm going to remove them out of the way here. And I'm going to make a start on these backing panels. Okay, so I have to start the other camera here. So as I say, I'm working on the backing panels and then moving on to the, well, grinder first, and then we're going to move to the dual action sander. So I'll start this other camera here. Hopefully I get no distractions because there's some today. So using this second, using this first to flatten the welds. So I'm going to continue. The ear plugs in. Don't you get high. Don't you get high. So you should be able to see now that them welds are flattened and they're basically lined up to the band. So what I don't want to do here is I don't want to have the grinder sort of taper in the welds, because I want the welds nice and round for the sanding stage. So I'll continue here. Just give me an example here of the welds. And I want it looking like this. Okay, so for the other camera here, a second. So I'll continue on here, sanding the rest of this band. Then we're going to move over to the dual axis sander. I don't need that random one. Closer, man. Get up nice and high here. I think it's as high as I'm going. Yep. Alright. Alright. So I'm sort of working off this flat face, keeping the spanking pad nice and tight to the face so it doesn't taper off. Don't want that. Look rough then. Okay, so I just have from here now to here to do, and then I'm going to move on to the sanding stage. So this will be polished up to a mirror finish, but not in this live stream. I'm just demonstrating the preparation before that. Get that tractor passes, but it's quite loud. So there is a weld here and here, but you don't obviously see the welds. Okay, so I'm ready for the next stage here. So what I plan to do here is bring this one up to a high standard, and I'll do the other one. I'll just do the other video on the other camera later on. So I'll complete this now. I'm gonna get a bucket of water here just. If anybody has any questions. It's very immature. Thank you, Ben, for watching. I'm glad you liked the videos. There will be more interesting ones coming in the future. Goodbye, Mr. I'm gay boy. So, I don't need the grinder anymore. Turn the compressor on. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the 150mm sander, dual action, and 40 grip sandpaper. I'm going to use water because it's more effective with stainless, more aggressive. Sort of keeps the sandpaper clean a wee bit too. So I'm going to try and stick to the flat edge first, the flat face, and then at the end I'm going to creep up on the welds, but I'll probably move over to say 80 grip to do that. I might just touch it with the 40. I also, it's not just a matter of going like this. I can't obviously do that here. I don't want to do that. I want this nice flat edge kept on. These bars are on this way, so I just need to be careful. I might need to bring out the 2-inch sander. I need a wee cup for that. Yeah. What's your left. So basically what I'm doing now is removing. I'm just thinking, should I start the camera up or I'll just do the other one again. So what I'm doing now is removing any scratches left by this backing pad. So I'm trying to keep the sander nice and flat, not to round the edges too much because this is quite coarse. So if you look at the welds now, when I was welding this, I don't know what live stream it was, maybe live stream part 15 or 16. I was being very careful not to leave any pitted areas down below the welds here because it would look very poor when it's polished into a mirror finish. So if you look at every one of the welds there, you can see there's no pitted areas. Like a C shape, where it's sort of extracted the stainless up into the weld itself. So that doesn't exist here, so it actually looks quite well. It will look quite well. just make sure the live stream's still running because. Hi everyone. Okay, so I'll continue on. I know there's somebody writing stupid comments there, so I'll just ignore them. This thing's go forward. Not too hard. So if you look here, you can probably see all the scores left by the grinder, the backing pad. So the sander will remove those. So the next grade of sandpaper that I will use after that is 80 grit. Just a quick flush to remove the 40 grit marks. So it's kind of tricky, slow process. This ball keeps getting in the back. Adjusted the breath there if it's coming a bit too hard. So there's the scratches that I need to remove, the left by the grinder, the backing pad. See there? They're running down on the hill like this. And there's quite a number of them here too. So that our disc is done too, so it's better to use a disc that's not too new, less aggressive. So with less marks to take out here. The best thing to do is to put a wee pad on. Where is them bad boys at? There somewhere. Okay, so it's going to take me a while to remove those scratches. It's going to take me a while to remove these scratches, but I'll continue on. I have another one to do yet. Putting the sander on the table is not going to scratch the workpiece. Some people. Okay everyone, I'm just going to switch pump over on the compressor here. So what I'm using here now is a rotary 2-inch sander. It's just basically more effective to remove any scores left by the backing pad here on the grinder. So that's important to keep the surface flat. This is important to remove the marks left by that. And this is important then to remove the marks left by this. So there's no point in me going to this stage when it's not effective enough to remove the scores left by the grinder. I don't know what somebody's on about in the comments there. Been working with stainless for years. So keeping this flat too. Good job, there now. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm moving the 80 grit sandpaper now on the dual action, moving away from a rotary sander. So, I don't think, because there's so much work involved in the bat and polishing these parts, what I'm going to do is I'm going to now demonstrate just the 80 grit going over this and show you how the small sander, this one removed the little deep scores. After that, I'm going to move on to the other one. I'm going to start using our camera. I'm going to close this door. That compressor's quite loud. I'm going to use our camera to sort of just demonstrate the other one when I'm at it. I'm not going to go full extent sanding this. I'm going to do it off camera, but there's just so much work in it. So what I can do here now is basically sort of just touch the weld slightly with the 80 grit. But first, let's do the faces. So, you might be able to tell the difference there now. It is immaculate. There's no more deep gouges left by this yoke, the backing pad. So, I'll continue on here with dual action. If I do see any more, it's basically as simple as running this over it again, the rotary. But what I'm doing here now is basically going over it with an 80 grit and flattening the marks left by the rotary. So, go from here now to here, there. Trying to get this in the view. Okay, so keeping the cylinder nice and flat. This space flat on the band. Just to demonstrate that I haven't removed a lot of material here. So 2.98 still 3 mil. If I go to the welded point here, so I'll just demonstrate that. 3.9. what do we see if I get this thing? 3.95. So there's no dips. It's not a lot of grinding, it's just done, I took my time and done it right. Okay, so I'm nearly done here with the 80 grit. All the gouges left by this shock, flatten the welds are now removed. Well, near enough. I will get the rest off camera. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to work on the other one for those late arriving to the live stream. I will try on the front part now too when I'm at it, because I never tried it yet. Because obviously the welds is on it, you got carpet parts. There's another one coming. So because of the welds, I couldn't place the front guard on nice and flush. So I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Okay, so a quick demonstration here of the welds. So basically what I want to do here is basically just touch them, no more. To sort of keep it in a ball action, moving the sander like this. Nope. And that gives us a nice sort of clean weld. So when I welded these, I sort of pushed the end of the bar downhill to leave this nice neat joints, neat weld joint. It's done. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the other one now. But as you can see, looking well. So my idea of getting the wee rotary sander worked very well from experience. Don't know what somebody else is talking about in the comments. Okay. Do you know what I'll do? I'll demonstrate first. So this is the backing panel, and it goes on the compressor like this, but slides down. So the bike circle is the right hand side. So I'm just going to make sure you can see this. Hi everyone, okay, so I'm just going to do a wee quick demonstration before I move on to the other backing panel. So here's what I welded this morning. The two of them is now welded right around the perimeter here. So this is the first time I've ever tried this on with no welds on this. So here we go. That's perfect. So if you look at the tabs, oh, hard to get it stay in position though. Okay. Stop teasing me, I can't give it for sitting me to do this wee demonstration. Okay, there we go. Well, not really. Hold on. Push this down a bit. There we go. Doesn't stay. So if you look at the tabs that I created there, all I need to do now is run the drill bit down through them and tap them. The tab is currently drilled to 3.5. I will run the drill bit on through when this workpiece, these two pieces are on the bench. Then I'll tap them out and then I'll use a wee cap screw to fix the backing panel or front guard to the backing panel. So the reason I'm sanding this part is because you will see it. So I want to bring this up to a mirror again and also this part on there. That's why I currently have these tabs polished to mirror beforehand, because I won't be able to get in there. So this is one set. There's another set sitting beside me here. So this is the one sanded. This is the one's not sanded. So you can see the difference there now. So I have to go through the stages again. So what I'm going to do is, I'll do this one off camera here. I'll record it for the main video on my channel that has to come yet. Bring it up to this stage. So I might end the live stream, but I might continue on with the sand in a wee moment. Maybe take it up to, might go to 180 grit. I have to take us to 320 for the mirror finish, or maybe 600 at times. 600 grit on the flat surface and 320 on the radius here, because there's less of a surface area touching the polisher at the radius, it's more effective. So you can remove any scratches or anything at a radius much easier than a flat surface. So I'll work on this one. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and do the other one. I'm going to run a fresh 80 grit over first. So these backing panels will have slots in them. Up to this point, where them two black marks are. If you can imagine. That looks well there now. So I'll do the rest off camera with this one. Hi everyone. Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to start the other camera up. So it might sound repetitive, because I will be recording or discussing for the other camera, doing this one. I'm not going to go into too much because the other video is really just giving a wee sort of demonstration. Okay, So, just give me a second when I set up this other camera, and I'm also going to get a drink of water. Oh dear, I'm gonna tumble. I'm gonna knock it over. Hold on. I'm going to fall. So the other one's more or less complete. Well, up to the 80 grit stage. 80 grit sandpaper. Right, I'm ready to rock again. All our cameras roll. Okay, so I went ahead there and done one. So what I'm going to do here now is go through the different stages and demonstrate bringing this one up to this stage. So starting off with the grinder and the backing pad. This is done, but it'll do for now. So removing all the welds, keeping this backing pad tight to the flat bar, or flush, flat, parallel to it. So I'll continue on here and then I'll demonstrate the sanding stage in a moment. See how to work on this. Okay everyone, so that our sanding pad's kind of done, and I forgot to purchase some, so I have to keep her lit here. That's all I've got. I have to keep putting water on it because it's starting to burn to cool it down. But I will get it done, hopefully with it. It's actually better at being a bit blunt because it won't leave them out big gouges. So it's important that I use this because it's keeping the surface flat rather than using the flat disc or something. So I'll continue on. I'll continue on anyway. Oh, our camera's not running now. So at the curve here, you probably see that I'm giving it quick flushes because if I was to hold that there long enough, it would leave a flat spot. It's a bit time for me now. Am I going to make it? Yeah, sort of. So I have from here, I have half of it to do yet. I'm going to go in the shade here and see if I can get all these pads, but I know I don't have any, but the one's on there, it's maybe better than that one. I'm in a bad way. This one's completely done, but it's more aggressive. There'll be rubber on it. Really what? This might work. This might not work, but I'll try and stay here. try and stay. This might jump. Danger. You know what? I'm gonna go back to the one that's blunt because I don't want to leave scratches on it. However long it takes. I'm in no rush. That's fine. Arms dead. So it's working alright even though it's done. So I have from here now to here, and the flat bit's easier to do. So another 5 minutes. It's heating up a wee bit because there's more friction there. But as I say, the scratches won't be as deep because this is done. So even though it's slow, it's sort of benefiting me. So I'm going to start the solar camera, people. Um, just to sort of finish this off. So if you have any questions, ask away. What I'm doing, I'll explain it again if you want. Anybody new? So here we go, the last three stretch from here to here. Try and get this in view. Good night. That's how warm it's getting. There's steam coming off it. Okay everyone, so we have a visitor in the street here that just pulled in. So I'm going to end the live stream, but if you want to see the stages after the grinding using the backing pad, do get a look at the start of this live stream. So thank you for watching, everyone. The next video will be actually polishing this these pieces into a mirror finish at this point. So that's it. Thank you for watching, everyone. Goodbye.